Hey everyone, it's Blake, and we're back here with episode number 5 of our WWE 2021 save in TEW 2020, and this is going to be our second edition of Raw since starting this particular save. And as we talked about in the previous ones, the first couple of shows have not been great from a rating standpoint, which led to us having a pretty significant business development in our previous episode for our SmackDown show. We saw the big news after SmackDown that we had fell in size. As I said, then not surprised at all by that. Sort of expected it, just based on we were right there on that line in terms of the number, where I think we had 77 or 78 popularity. We fell after a couple of, not great shows that I think wound up being in the 60s. And so we're at medium size. We're in our cooling off period. We're in the shock phase. We're in all that bad stuff. But I think that's okay. We're going to be fine. Very confident that we're going to eventually be right back where we need to be as a large company. And then from there, we will try to turn this thing into even larger. But we're not really concerned with that. We're taking one step back to take a big step forward. That is our goal here. And I think looking at this particular Raw, I think this is going to be a pretty good show. This feels like it's a little bit more tight in terms of how we have our storylines. As I said in the previous two, we were just trying to put the initial things together. Like we're just getting everything set up for our big matches and our big storylines, and that's what we had to do in the first two shows. But I think we're gonna get some pretty significant, progress, I would say, on this particular show. And I think this show, in terms of the matches and such, should do pretty well. So let's see if I'm right about that. We start with a pre-show match here. Dominic Mysterio gets the win over Drew Gulak. And this is, nice to have Rey Mysterio giving Dominic a boost here. So that works out well. But Dominic, we'll see what our plans are for him. But a nice pre-show bout here with him working with Drew Gulak, which I think also that always helps to, if you're wanting to grow someone's skills, put him in the ring with someone like Gulak. And that's what was kind of our goal here with Dominic, was to try to build up some of the skills and such. So I think that was pretty much in the plans there. And our second pre-show match, I know you're thinking, why are, the team that are fighting for the tag team championships, the undisputed tag titles at King of the Ring, why are they on the pre-show? Well, it's just one of those shows that is pretty stacked, as you'll see. And this is just kind of where we wanted to slot this. So not particularly worried about it. We did want to get the Street Profits some action, though, and I probably should have made it to where it didn't advance the storyline, but that's okay. Still, though, we see Chad Gable getting better at his gimmick, even though he and Angel Garza come out on the short end of the stick here. Still, we get a couple nice things out of this. Not a great rating, but I'll take it because these are 4 workers in particular that will play into our plans moving forward. So it's fine. It's on the pre-show, and this is, expecting a rating like this. That's kind of why we put it here. But we're just getting the Street Profits a little action in before that big match they're going to have at King of the Ring here in, I guess, two or three weeks now. So now on to the start of the main show. Oh, look at this. Now, this is great. So we start with a great segment here, and this was good stuff. And you can tell, yes, I'm going to do this occasionally, as I've talked about in the previous ones. Just forgot to, we had Kevin Owens not be scripted because we're just not going to script Kevin Owens. And so I want to say we probably maybe accidentally clicked Sheamus to be scripted. I don't remember if that's what we did or not, but still, it's okay. We'll take this. This is a very nice 71. This continues our storyline here, where the basis of this is you've just got these two setting up their big United States Championship match they're going to have next week. That will be one of our main events. I don't know if it's going to go on as our actual main event, but it may. But as of right now, it's going to be one of our main events on next week's show. Yeah, this is we're just setting this up here. A nice segment. You get a big argument. This is pretty much, sometimes I kind of expand on what the angle is myself, but this is kind of it, where they're not facing each other later on. They're just facing each other a week from now, which we had Kevin Owens kind of promote that last week in the segment. But good to see Kevin Owens performing really well here. As I said, I could have, certainly it would have been a better rating if I would have changed this a bit and probably remembered to not check that box in particular. But this is good. This is what we wanted to do. We want to start with a big angle here, where we have a pretty jam-packed show for this particular episode, but we wanted to go ahead and set the table for the next episode, and that's exactly what we have here with these two. This is going to be a big part of next week's edition of Raw. So a nice start here, finally getting some of those green numbers, which we didn't have a lot of those in the first couple of episodes of our shows on Raw and SmackDown. So a good start to this edition of Raw. And let's see. We will, let's just go ahead. We'll worry about the pre-booking on that later. And we start with our first match, which gets a nice 60 here. I'll take that. Based on, as you remember last week on Raw, our last edition of Raw, it was Bayley and Liv Morgan, which had no chemistry. I think that got a 42 maybe. But Sasha Banks and Liv Morgan gets a 60, so we got a little bit better options there. Banks gets the win using the Banks statement. I still have plans for Liv Morgan. I know what you're thinking. She just lost back-to-back matches to Bayley and Sasha Banks, but we still have plans for Liv Morgan. We'll get there. But as we know, also, Nikki Cross, who was going to be a big part of our Raw Women's division in the short term, at least, she is now on maternity leave, or she will be in a month, so we're not even using her right now. She'll be gone for, I assume, a year plus. So that is a significant, blow to our women's division on Raw, just because we don't have a lot of numbers. But we do get a solid match here: Sasha Banks and Liv Morgan. Sasha getting the win, and that's going to lead us into a big segment that will continue to propel forward a storyline on the women's side. So a 62 here for this particular segment. Lots of green. I like to see that. And this is basically just a situation where Sasha and Bayley, after Sasha Banks' match, Bayley is out there with her, and they are just taunting Rhea Ripley, our current Raw Women's Champion. They're just running her down, saying all these things about her, and that is sort of the setup that we're going to have moving forward with Bayley and Sasha Banks both having their eyes on the Women's Championship, which could lead to some interesting situations. We had Corey Graves involved in this one. As you saw on SmackDown, I used Pat McAfee sort of in the interviewer role. We're probably going to do a lot of the same with Corey Graves here. I just like the way that works where, after the match you have, an interviewer or someone like Graves or McAfee kind of, hit the ring. You have your interviews and you do it like that. I think that does a good job of sort of the segment flows really well doing it that way. So I like to use that. And so we'll probably do more of that just because our interviewer ratings in terms of entertainment and such, Graves and McAfee are going to be better probably than some of our other options. So we're going to probably take advantage of that. And try to do that more. So a 62 here, that's very nice. This will start our Raw Women's Title Triangle storyline. So you can kind of get a good idea of where this is headed in terms of a setup here that we have between Sasha, Bayley, and Rhea Ripley, all with interest in the Raw Women's Title, except for it's Rhea Ripley that currently has it. So a nice 62 here. We'll take that. And that leads us to a very dominant performance from Bobby Lashley. He defeats Akira Tazawa in 5 minutes, basically, using the Hurt Lock. Only gets a 47, but that's okay. I wanted to use this basically as just a dominant performance from Lashley. If you remember on the previous episode of Raw, Lashley said that he wanted to have a warm-up match, which MVP said every match for Bobby Lashley that is not for the championship, he considers a warm-up match. And so he wanted a warm-up match. He gets it here with Akira Tazawa. But as you can see, we really got a lot of good stuff here. Even though the overall rating's not great, and I didn't really think it was going to be, this is just what we wanted to accomplish with this particular segment. So great chemistry here with MVP and Bobby Lashley. We'll take that. Look at the great chemistry between Lashley and Akira Tazawa. So maybe that's a future World Championship program we could have there. This is nice. I mean, it's much better than I honestly, like, even at a 47, I didn't expect to get hardly anything out of this, but I wanted to have it on the show just to have Lashley, have his quote-unquote warm-up match. So it's fine. I mean, yes, it's going to take our rating down a bit, but it's fine. We wanted to accomplish something with this segment, and we did. So we have some changes here. So we had been working on, turning Akira Tozawa. He was listed as a heel. We want to turn him face, and we're also giving him a different gimmick because he had the ninja gimmick, which is just downright awful. So we're going to do the change here and see how that works. Let's see. We're going to make the turn. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so we're going to make the turn for him, and we're going to trigger the gimmick change as well. So he gets an adequate gimmick, not great, but it's better than awful, right? So he goes to Daredevil. So he's just going to be someone that we use in a lot of those different scenarios and such. But at least we're getting him away from the comedy stuff. We don't plan on using him in that. And look, the face turn was a complete success, so that's good. I would expect him to be a complete success when he's getting beat down by Bobby Lashley, who just dominated this match in an incredible performance for our champion, who now awaits his next move, which is, this is great, 78 here. So we get a promo. I know it says backstage, but once again, we like to use the ring and such. Bobby Lashley, MVP, on the mic. And once again, MVP says Bobby Lashley is ready for someone to step up and give him some competition. He wants to defend his title. He doesn't want any warm-up matches, but that's what he's going to keep doing until someone steps up to give him the challenge that he wants. And so we have Bobby Lashley waiting for his next challenger, and MVP says they're not just going to take just anyone. They will figure out who the best challenger is, and they will let that person know when they would like. So there's a little tease moving forward for what could be our WWE Championship program, but they are waiting to figure out who is going to be the challenger, and Bobby Lashley is ready for someone to step up. 78, great rating here. And we get a promo from Big E, who, speaking of, we sort of transition from one thing into the next. We go straight from Bobby Lashley and MVP to Big E backstage, and Big E says if they're looking for someone to step up, he will be on that list of people that should get a chance at the WWE Championship. And basically, Big E says this is starting his journey on his road to becoming the WWE Champion, and this is where it starts. So a nice, entertaining promo from Big E, 75. This is great. So a lot more green. I feel confident that our rating is going to be much higher than it was on the previous edition, because this has been a pretty strong Raw thus far. And that leads to Big E getting a win here over Shelton Benjamin, 11:32, using the big ending. Nice here. We'll take this again. We just wanted to, we're trying to promote Big E. We're trying to push him, give him some momentum. That's what he gets here with a win over Shelton Benjamin. Not a whole lot else to this other than we are building Big E up, and this gives him a victory on his resume. And we go backstage for another promo. Dolph Ziggler, once again, who cut a promo last week on his match with Ricochet. Basically, the entire promo here for Dolph is just him already, making phone calls. He's trying to get the celebration set up for him winning the King of the Ring. So we're in King of the Ring qualifiers, and Dolph is already setting it up to that. He's already setting up his celebration for when he wins the whole thing. So Dolph, the arrogant heel, is not someone that is shy about talking about his confidence. And so a 66 here as he gets ready for his upcoming match. So Dolph Ziggler setting up his championship celebration, and we haven't even started the King of the Ring yet in terms of making it to the actual show. So Dolph Ziggler, very confident heading into, let's see how it works out for him. And Dolph Ziggler did all that stuff for absolutely nothing, because Dolph goes out in the King of the Ring qualifiers. Ricochet pulls off, the upset in Dolph Ziggler's mind, getting the victory at 14:38. And we get a 60 here. That's solid, not great, but yes, so we have Ricochet pulling off what a lot will consider an upset, as Dolph Ziggler had everything planned for his championship celebration, his king coronation, but yet he is out. He doesn't even make it to the quarterfinals at King of the Ring. So we'll see how Dolph Ziggler reacts to that. But it's Ricochet moving on to the King of the Ring. So he will be one of the 8 men participating at our King of the Ring pay-per-view here in a couple weeks. So a big win for Ricochet, and we'll see if he can kind of use that as a springboard heading into the King of the Ring tournament. And we get a promo here from Rey Mysterio. He's setting up the main event tonight, which is Rey Mysterio versus AJ Styles. And we have Corey Graves, here helping him out, even though Corey, a little underperformed here. We could have had a better rating. But yes, we continue to advance the King of the Ring storyline. It's Rey Mysterio versus AJ Styles. We had AJ talk about Rey last week to hype up the match. It's pretty much the same here. Rey building up our main event and saying that, he's done a lot in his career, but he wants to win King of the Ring, and he's going to go through AJ Styles to get there. So a nice little setup for our main event. And before we get there, we're back to what was the end of our segment last week, or end of our show last week, as we finished things up with a segment with Randy Orton circling the ring after Edge's win in the main event. And this one is basically backstage. Randy Orton walks up to Edge. All he wants from Edge is to do the right thing, and Edge is not looking confused. He's not sure what that is, but Edge just basically stares at Randy Orton. They just do a stare down, and that's about it. This is not a very long segment. You just have Randy Orton seeing Edge backstage and telling him he wants him to do the right thing. And so this advances the storyline. Obviously, we're gaining big heat. This is an 82. This is fantastic. A lot of great stuff here. I mean, this is just both of these guys working together. You're going to get gold, and that's what we're getting here. So I really am pleased with this because we do have something pretty exciting, I think, in the works for this storyline. And so this is a big positive because we got a lot of momentum now with this, and I think the direction it's heading in, it's going to be really good. So Randy Orton just telling Edge it's time for him to do the right thing, and we'll see what that means moving forward. But big tease there once again involving these two and what's going to be one of our big angles on Raw here moving forward. And that leads to our main event. Yes, a nice 72 here. We'll take that. Great chemistry with AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio, so that's a match we know that we can go back to in certain situations if we need to. We went a pretty long match here. We went 23 minutes with these two. We wanted to give them the time to work well. I think we booked this as slow build, and there was something else we added in there. I think we did Call in the Ring. So we took out the scripted match. We went Call in the Ring because both of them have good psychology. So we did that, and I think we did the slow build. So they built up throughout it. So we wanted to make this sort of a classic. I mean, it didn't get there in terms of like an 85 or 90 or anything like that, but we did get a nice rating here, and it is AJ Styles advancing, stopping Rey Mysterio's hopes of making it to the King of the Ring. AJ advances to the King of the Ring, so he joins the group there, and so now we have our 4 Raw participants set for King of the Ring, which is going to be Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Ricochet, and AJ Styles. They all advance, and we will see the 4 that join them on the other side on SmackDown. But it is AJ Styles in a fantastic match here between these two. A nice finish here with this, and AJ going to gloat about it a bit. A very nice rating here from AJ, cutting a promo after the match, talking about how he's headed to King of the Ring and that he's just one step closer to being King Styles, and we will see if that ultimately is what happens there with that. But great stuff from AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio in our main events. We needed that. AJ afterwards cutting the promo. He's ready to become King of the Ring, and that will lead us to our final segment, which, if you remember on the previous episode of Raw, Vince McMahon said he was going to announce the new Raw general manager, and it is going to be, look at this, Stone Cold Steve Austin is our new Raw general manager. We hired old Stone Cold. We needed him. We had to have him. And so this, honestly, from the beginning, he was my first option when I started thinking of, okay, who do I want to be my GMs on Raw and SmackDown? Stone Cold was the first option I had in mind in terms of wanting him to be the Raw GM, and it was just a matter of seeing could we get him signed or not, because as if you play this mod in some of these games, like, it can be hard to sign some of these guys. Some of these guys just want to retire. They don't want to be back in wrestling. They don't want to do anything, but we took our shot at Stone Cold. We got him, so we didn't have to go to our backup plan. So Stone Cold Steve Austin is our Raw general manager, and we will see what that means for the rest of the roster moving forward, as this is our new GM here, Stone Cold 82. This is great. He debuted the Rebel gimmick. Very good. I would hope that would be more of like, legendary based on how he's made that work. But this is good stuff here. So Stone Cold, your Raw general manager here, and we will see what Vince McMahon has in mind for our SmackDown general manager. But there is our Raw GM, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that wraps up our show, which is 73. Even though this lost its popularity in 11 regions, which is mostly going to be the United States, we will take this because our first couple of shows were, I think, 62 and 63. So a 73 here, we're definitely moving in the right direction. We take another step with some of our storylines, and this is good stuff here. So I think this was a very big step in the right direction for our show, especially on Raw. We've got a lot of things heated up now. We've got Kevin Owens and Sheamus next week. We've got something brewing with Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Rhea Ripley. MVP and Bobby Lashley, they want a challenger for the title. We got Edge and Orton. You got AJ Styles moving on to King of the Ring. Austin's the GM. We got a lot happening on Raw, and Raw with a lot of momentum now here after a slow start, but this was a big show, I think, in terms of building our momentum. So nice Raw here. We'll see if we can continue that on SmackDown. Before we wrap up, let's see if there's any news items we need to attend to. And there's not really a whole lot in terms of news, anything noteworthy after Raw. AEW did increase their production values to industry leader. We spent $5,000 on the drug test fees, and we got a 3.40 rating for Raw. Of course, I leave these in here, our cooling down period shocked and all that, just as a note, but nothing really new on this front. So that's about it in terms of what we have going on there after Raw. Anything in here? It looks interesting. AEW Dark Elevation apparently was not great, but we're not concerned with that. Mauro Ranallo did sign a handshake deal with AEW, so that's something. Sunny Kiss sideline, not ideal with a dislocated shoulder, but that's about it. So we come off of a really good Raw, and yeah, I mean, it was just a great show. A lot of praise, clearly, from our fans, and they should be excited because that was a good show. Nice, positive momentum for us moving forward here after a couple of struggles early on, but we knew that going in. But I think we're finally building up our storylines. We have them where we want them to go, and I think that will make for a very fun SmackDown coming up as well, as we're going to advance some more storylines on SmackDown. Got some exciting things in the works there on that as we build towards King of the Ring. So we know the Raw side for King of the Ring. Now we will add the other two on SmackDown, and we will have our King of the Ring 8 men. We'll have them set after this next edition of SmackDown, and that will be the focus on the next episode here of this series. So be sure to subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Appreciate, again, the great feedback thus far. Having a lot of fun with this, and now that we're actually getting good show ratings, that certainly helps. But yes, I think that will be sort of the foundation moving forward now that we have some storylines built in and we've kind of have things set up the way we want it. And we've got a new Raw general manager, Steve Austin. We'll find out who the new SmackDown general manager is on the next episode, which will be all about WWE SmackDown.